In this edition of Fix the Flick, we'll be looking at the Pirates of the Caribbean sequels, specifically Dead Man's Chest and At World's End. The first Pirates movie was a fast-paced, swashbuckling spectacle. It introduced charming, relatable characters and told a lighthearted adventure story, which brought us along on a very enjoyable ride. Get it? Ride? But its two sequels didn't live up to the streamlined story and likable characters that made the first installment so much fun. The plot of the two-part storyline got really convoluted really quickly. With seemingly everyone trying to backstab everyone else at every turn, it was hard to tell what was going on.
Why did you conspire with me against him?
I don't know. I can't keep track of any of it anymore. I just keep teaming up with whoever suggested.
Do you even understand what a conspiracy is? If you conspire with every person that approaches you, you're not even really conspiring with anyone. You're just doing random crap.
And the construction of the plot made it very uneven, with too much action in the first movie and a lot of standing around talking in the second. It felt like things were added to intentionally overstuff the story until it broke in two.
Up is down. That's just maddeningly unhelpful. Why are these things never clear?
That could have been solved by whittling the plot down and telling it over the course of one epic film. So, with that in mind, let's try to fix the Pirates of the Caribbean. The movie starts out with Will and Elizabeth's wedding, interrupted by Cutler Beckett. He breaks out the arrest warrants, but only for Will, Elizabeth, and Jack. We're getting rid of Norrington because he really didn't add much to the overall story. Just like in the original, Elizabeth is thrown in jail. And just like in the original, Will is tasked with bringing back Jack and his magic compass. While Will's off to Tortuga, we find Jack aboard the Black Pearl, complaining about the deficit of rum.
Why is the rum always gone?
You know, instead of coming out of some mystery prison that's never explained with a drawing of a key. If he already knew what the key went to, which he did, he wouldn't need a picture of it. No, Jack goes to get some more rum and meets Bootstrap. Will's dad tells Jack that his time is up and gives him the black spot.
The time is up. It comes now, drawn with ravenous hunger to the man what bears the black spot.
When Jack frantically wakes up his crew, it's not in search of land, but the voodoo priestess Tia Dalma. Some of you are probably saying in the comments that the island they went to was Tia Dalma's island. But the fact that Jack said,
"Run, land!" Which port? Didn't say port. Said land.
Made me think that they just put in at the first island they could find. I actually had to look up the fact that the Cannibal Island was the same island Tia Dalma lived on. This clears things up a little bit. Meanwhile, Governor Swan rescues Elizabeth, and she heads for Tortuga. Through rumor, Will tracks Jack down. Jack is making preparations to spring Tia Dalma from prison. And he makes a deal with Will to give him the compass in exchange for finding a chest. We then get a fun pirate-style prison break. In exchange for their help, Tia Dalma tells them about Davy Jones and the Dead Man's Chest. She tells them where they can find the Flying Dutchman, and Jack tricks Will on board to buy him time to find the chest. He does this by mentioning that Will's father, Bootstrap, is aboard, having been press-ganged into service. Once aboard, Will meets Davy Jones. Will tells him that Jack Sparrow sent him to settle his debt, and Jack haggles with Jones over the price of his freedom.
To another. Aha! So we've established my proposal is sound in principle, now we're just haggling over price.
Price.
Then he heads back to Tortuga while Will meets his father, just like in the original. Jack begins to recruit the 99 souls for Jones, but we don't see Norrington. Instead, Elizabeth shows up looking for Will. We also don't do the stowaway ghost bride stuff because it was really only there to pad the runtime. Instead, Jack realizes that he can find out where the chest is by working his magic on Elizabeth and having Elizabeth work her magic on the compass. While they head to Isla Cruces, Will and Bootstrap bond a little. He learns why Bootstrap left him and his mother, and how guilty Bootstrap feels for abandoning him. Will reveals that he's there to get the chest, but Bootstrap tells him that it's not on board. So, Will challenges Jones to a game of liar's dice for his freedom.
I challenge Davy Jones.
I accept that.
And again, Bootstrap loses while trying to protect his son. Will takes a chance and tells Jones that Jack knows where the chest is and is heading straight to it, which gets him to lead Will directly to the chest. But Jones locks Will in the brig as insurance until they get to the island. While there, he learns that whoever stabs the heart has to become the new captain of the Dutchman. The fact that the old guy in the wall told him like 98% of the relevant information, but stopped at the important part, is another symptom of the writers milking the runtime. Eventually, Bootstrap helps him escape, and Will promises to free him any way he can. Everyone gets to the island about the same time, and everything plays out pretty much the same. Except, in the end, it's Jones that gets the heart, not Norrington or Beckett. Watching the Davy Jones ordered around by a human like Beckett made him feel like less of a threat and less scary. This way, Davy Jones can seem almost all-powerful without having to answer to a minor villain like Beckett. Having retrieved his heart from everyone trying to steal it, Jones lets the Kraken loose and it attacks the Pearl. Elizabeth still betrays Jack, and Jack still goes down with the ship. And we're now about at the halfway point of the movie. After the crew of the Pearl escape, they go to Tia Dalma. She says that they're all marked by Jones and that he won't stop until he gets them all. They don't know how to defeat Jones, who still commands the Kraken, but Tia Dalma does say that there is a way, but they need to get Jack back from the locker to do it. That's when Barbossa shows up. Barbossa leads them to Sao Fang, and they deal with him for the charts to the spirit world. But Will doesn't try to steal them first. Will's character made a real change in the third movie. He suddenly became a liar, a betrayer, and a murderer. Also, he could free a guy who abandoned him as a child. That never really felt right. So, in this version, he's still just a good, honorable guy. And in a way, this creates more tension, as Will is bound by his honor, even though he's surrounded by, well, pirates. Everything is going fine until they let it slip that it's Jack they're trying to free from the locker. So they need to fight their way out, and it's Barbossa that ends up stealing the charts. Then they head to the locker. We don't see the many Jacks scene because, again, it didn't really move the story along. Rather, we see the scene where Jack decides that he wants to captain the Dutchman for eternity.
Stab the heart.
The immortal Captain Sparrow.
Ooh, I like that.
Jack talking to tiny versions of himself is easier to swallow when he's still in the locker, not sailing out of it. They eventually return to the land of the living and head to Cannibal Island, which in this version is different than Tia Dalma's island. On the way, Tia Dalma is revealed to be the sea goddess Calypso when Jones visits her. But their conversation isn't as nice as in the released version. Jones taunts Tia Dalma, who already knows who imprisoned her. We hear about the Brethren Court, but we never see it. And we hear that Jones was the one who showed them how to bind Tia in the first place. Once they arrive at Cannibal Island, Barbossa reveals that he intends to set Calypso free. At her full strength, she can easily take care of the Kraken and Jones in one fell swoop. And for that, he needed Jack's piece of 8 and the last piece on the island. Up until this point, they had all been working together, even though we know they've been plotting against each other. By the time Barbossa makes his big reveal, we've had time to digest what everyone's motives and goals are. So we understand that Jack has a problem with the plan because he wants to take care of Jones himself. And we understand that Will has a problem with the plan because he wants to free his father. So they break into a sword fight. While they try to kill each other over Jack's piece of 8, Elizabeth fights through the natives to get to the last piece. The cannibal scene in Dead Man's Chest may have been fun, but it had nothing to do with the story. And as mentioned before, it wasn't very clear that it was Tia Dalma's island. Now it has a bit more importance. The natives worship Calypso, so they're guarding the final piece. Barbossa gets control of Jack's piece of 8, and once Elizabeth secures the final piece, Pintel and Rigetti steal it, revealing that they never stopped working for Barbossa. They get back to the ship before anyone else and set Calypso free. Barbossa tells Jack and Will that if they hurry, they'll have the chance to do what they came for. Once Calypso's storm starts up, the Kraken goes down fighting, only to be crushed in the whirlpool, which is cooler than killing one of the most powerful creatures in the Pirates universe off camera, for no other reason than some guy said so. So now it's just the Dutchman versus the Pearl. There's no Brethren Court, no Pirate Lords, no Pirate King. In the first movie, the pirates were the villains, but the sequels had the final conflict as a bunch of pirates fighting for their right to steal, rape, and murder. I don't know about you, but that was hard to get behind. And we never saw any other ships fighting anyway. We get to the final fight with Davy Jones, and Jack gets the heart. But before he can kill Jones, the heart gets knocked out of his hand when the ships finally smash into each other. Will fights for the heart, but he's quickly outmatched. Jones draws back to kill him, and then we see the heart get stabbed. By Bootstrap. It's always seemed like Bootstrap had to make amends to Will, not the other way around. So, Bootstrap Bill Turner kills Davy Jones and becomes the new captain of the Flying Dutchman. And with his new powers as captain, he marries Will and Elizabeth right on the ship. After a heartfelt goodbye to Bootstrap, the Dutchman sails off to a green flash. Everyone else heads back to Port Royal. Jack gives up the compass and the newlyweds trade it for a pardon from Beckett. We then have Barbossa and Jack outsmart each other one last time before sailing off into the sunset. So, that's how I would fix the Pirates of the Caribbean. Are there any movies that you think are in need of repair? If so, email me at the link down below or post a comment. And remember to click like and subscribe if you want to see more movies get fixed. Until next time, I'm Mr. Fix-It for Fix the Flick.